Well, hey, everybody, welcome back to another week of Sitting Down with my favorite therapist, Denise Frazier-Vezlakis. Doctor, how are you this morning?
Great. How are you?
I'm good. It's been a challenging couple of weeks for all of us who are watching this today. You're in the position of trying to care for people on a pretty regular basis, and that's looked like phone calls for the last couple of weeks. Tell me what you're seeing a couple of weeks into what feels like a national crisis.
People are very anxious. People are very fearful. People are very lonely, and people are just very scared, I think, and they don't know when it's over. Mostly they're worried about their family.
Yeah, this is a different kind of crisis than we're used to. Usually the crisis means people come together, they hold each other, they listen to each other, they go to church services, they get together in town meetings. We can't do that. So people are kind of feeling alone in the crisis. Is that what you're seeing?
Right, it's exactly right. And things that they depended on before, like salaries, earning a living, shopping, just things that were, oh, sorry, that's my dog. Should I try to do something with
Oh, that's great. Let the dog be part of the call.
the things that they depended on that our world promotes? It's just not helping.
Yeah. Instability plus insecurity makes everything a little bit even more complex and stressful.
Wow, that's really good. Yeah.
So today I want to help our listeners by talking about powerlessness and mortality. Those things are related to each other. I think what people are feeling around us.
I hate to do this, but can I open this gate and he'll come in and sit on the...
Let's go.
All right, come on.
This is real time, folks.
By the way, pets are very helpful when a person's anxious. It does lower your blood pressure and make you feel encouraged.
Well, I want to put this out to the Facebook community. If anybody needs a pet, I'm happy to give my wife's dog away.
Okay.
My children would object, but anyway. So we want to talk about powerlessness. That's a feeling a lot of us have right now. Why do people feel so powerless in this moment in history?
Well, partly what we're saying, the things we depended on, jobs, money, staying young, looking good, having certain stuff, it's just not working very much. And our brain, I think we talked about that last week, the amygdala is scanning fear.
Yeah.
And it's sending all these unconscious messages to the body that is making us now make decisions from a fear base. And our body is just really like on hyper alert all the time right now.
And when we're afraid, we don't make good decisions, right?
No, because you make it out of fear rather than logically, calmly thinking, praying about it first,
So if a person is in a state of powerlessness and that state exists for a long period of time, weeks, even into months, what eventually happens to their psyche?
Well, the psyche gets very depressed, very isolated. It kind of gets on a roll. And what's happening is, again, the thought process gets more and more compromised. And then the body starts breaking down because stress breaks down our body. It's like drinking arsenic. And so we have to try to stop that cycle. Otherwise, we're literally poisoning our body. I mean, it's one of the reasons the physicians send people to me if they're in, for example, cancer treatment, because we want people to be as stress-free as possible. Yeah. Because it's not a good chemical in your body.
Yeah, I think so many people right now, I know I've felt that too, is not much of my diet has changed or my exercise has changed, but I feel worse these last couple of weeks because there's so much stress in my system.
And that's really a good point, because sometimes people will go to the hospital and they'll say, I'm calm, I'm confident with the doctor. And when they take their blood pressure, it'll be right through the roof. So consciously, they're thinking they're fine, but unconsciously, that amygdala is just flooding the body with panic.
Sure. So right now in society, people feel powerless. And that makes sense because none of us can stop a global pandemic. We can't predict what's going to happen to our investments, our bank account. We don't know if we'll have a job in a couple of weeks. So that powerlessness is significant.
Right.
What can people do when they feel powerless to regain some control over the day-to-day experience of life in the midst of an unpredictable future?
That's a really complex question. I think the first thing is we try to simplify our life, figure out what can we do, what needs to be done, try to find that project, not even a project, but the daily routine things that we can do. We try to use every moment. Our family, we've been doing this for a while. Instead of saying, I have to go to work, I have to do the dishes, I have to take care of my grandkid, or I have to take the dog out, we're starting to say, I get to.
Mm,
Because the truth is, I get to go to work and I get to sit here with you and I'm healthy. I get to do the dishes. I get to cook dinner. Well, that isn't such a blessing in my family, but as my small group, the potato story. And so really it's about thinking about using every minute. And it hit me the other day. Our our statement at church is to live and love like Jesus, which is pretty much not what our world teaches us. We don't have to have bigger, better, more. Less is okay.
yeah.
And so I think just, your pieces have been very helpful because we are trying to live and love like Jesus. And Jesus was a very humble person. And I think he gave us that example.
Well, and we're approaching Easter as Christians, and that's the season where we're looking at Christ's ultimate sacrifice. And it's interesting to me reading that story again these last couple of weeks, how Jesus was okay being powerless, and in
Yeah,
fact chose to let people have positions of power over him when he could have in a moment snapped his fingers and angels descend from the heavens, we think, and fought for him, but instead he chose to be powerless for the greater good. And that's a way of thinking about it too, that what can I do that's for my best interest or for the best interest of those people that I love in this moment. Even if I can't control the big things, I can control micro things.
right. Exactly. That's exactly right too. And it does help to do some kind of exercise or relaxation. We talked, I think, last week, eating well. All of that really helps. And it doesn't have to be complicated. I'm a pretty simple person. You fall out of bed, there's your shoes. Just put them on. We don't have to get fancy.
Yeah, I noticed I'm
My
seeing
husband,
on Facebook and other social platforms, people talking about, putting, dressing up to go work at home or putting on makeup to go see somebody, like some of the normal things that we do. Those are little small choices. I had a friend tell me a year ago that he tries to make his bed every day because it's a guaranteed thing he can accomplish. And that kind of
right,
jump starts the control of my day.
right.
That's the way we can get control back.
Yeah, it's exactly right. This type of, talking on the phone to people, our own family, we're not getting together. Um, so we talk to each other all the time, text, and can do
Yeah.
that now.
So
And
sometimes when I sit with individuals and couples, we'll talk through, what's stressing them out right now, what's going on. And what we'll try to do sometimes say, okay, we'll put that all in a category of things I can't control. Then we make another category of what can we control? And the things we can't control, we cope with. And
right,
we talk to other people and we share. The things we can control, we do something about.
exactly right. Yeah.
So
And that makes you feel, that you do have some power, because actually one of the worst stressors is given a job. It happens a lot to people. You're given a task to do in your work, but you're not given the power to do what you need to do. And that's a terrible stressor because your hands are tied.
yeah. I would want every person listening to this to know you can take control of today.
Yeah, right.
And you can take control of this very moment. And you might not be able to accomplish everything on your to-do list,
Right.
but you can choose to do some actions that are going to give life to those people that matter most to you.
It's true. And I'll just say, because the more you perseverate on, I can't, it builds again that fear base
Mm-hmm.
rather than I can, I
Yeah.
get. Mhm.
Yeah. So we said we were going to talk about mortality. Most people don't get really excited about talking about that, but I think it's an important conversation. We've talked about it a couple of times, you and I, in the past. This
Yeah,
crisis has, for the first time in a long time, or maybe the first time in some of our lives, brought up the mortality that we all experience. As people get
right.
older, they think about death a lot more often, but now younger people are considering their mortality. What would you say to people who are for the first time thinking about it and maybe a little bit freaked out?
Mhm. It's great because you're right about one thing. Younger people thinking about it, it's in a sense not age appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the reasons you see the teenagers, the 20-year-olds going on spring break, because they really do think they're omnipotent. And that's a hard question. I guess the main answer is to make sure we're using every moment that we are given to the best of our ability, so we have as few regrets as possible as we get older, and accepting there will be a fear around this because we're fearful people. We like to know where we're going.
Yeah.
And Christians, we know we're going to heaven, but I think it's the what am I trying to say to you? Sometimes I don't think it's people are afraid of after death. They're afraid of that going through suffering.
Yeah.
Suffering always seems to be the biggest issue.
Yeah.
For lack of a better word.
Yeah, there's different things we can say to people. One, I think it's a danger to say to somebody, "You're never going to die."
Yeah, absolutely.
Or to say to somebody who knows that they're in a state of crisis that this is going to be okay. Well, yeah, what we can say, I'll be with you and we'll get through this together and I won't leave you. But there's no guarantee for any of us.
No, and I think a lot of us have had parents and grandparents. We've been blessed that are Christians. I'll be brief on this, but I think we need to look for opportunities to share our faith. My younger son and his wife were going to have twins, maybe 8 or 9 years ago. And my granddaughter was on our porch last year, and she's 7. Now she's 9. This was a couple of years ago. I'll try to be brief. And she said to me, we have these little statues that are kind of like our grandkids. And she said to me, "Nana, do you know that my brother died? Because her twin died in utero." Mm-hmm. And for 1 minute, even though I do this for a living, I was in shell shock. Yeah. I didn't know if I wanted to cry or change the subject, and then I thought, this is a moment for me to share my faith. So I said to her, "Yeah, I do know he's in heaven. He got there first. He got to see Jesus first. And someday we're going to get to see him." Mm. And kids are so great, because she looked at me and went, yeah, took her chalk and went out on the driveway and started, drawing flowers. Yeah. But in that moment, it reminded me how prepared I have to be. We don't like to talk about death when our kids are young. But I think it's important that we talk about it just like we talk about everything else in our families. It just needs to be part of our conversation. And let me say this, if I can. When somebody in the family dies, there is no such thing as closure. Mm. It's not like we get through 2 weeks and everybody should be better. Yeah. And we need to help our kids understand that it's okay to be sad, because the younger we teach them, I think the less fear there is as they get older.
Yeah. I think that's one of the great disservices of our time, is that we as a culture don't know how to talk about death, and often we avoid it. And mm-hmm. So children grow up seeing their parents not mourning, not processing it. And so they don't think it's okay for them to process. And any repressed feeling has a long-term impact on that person's well-being.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, so we just want to think through, how do we help people do that? So if you're a parent listening to this, or you're a grandparent and your kids who are maybe middle-aged are worried about this situation, there's something powerful we can say with, yeah, I'm aware that I'm going to die someday. And I'm doing everything I can in this moment to be in right relationship with my family, my friends, and even in right relationship with God.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a way to just constantly be correcting ourselves to make good decisions every day, so we have fewer regrets.
Yeah.
And then it's okay to say, I don't know the answer. I don't understand. It's okay for our kids to see that we're vulnerable, that we don't have all the answers either. At least I don't.
Yeah. Well, we might not have the answers, but you're really good to talk to, Denise.
Well, it's good to talk to you. I'm glad you're holding the fort down.
Yeah, we're all in this together. Well, next week we're going to get together and do this again. I think what we'll be talking a little bit more is just about the opportunities to see growth in the midst of crisis. And so we're going to celebrate what we're seeing in society and even the ways that we're seeing that in you. So thanks for being with us. We'll record this again and talk to you soon.
All right, thanks, Jan.